on the expo floor in Los Angeles, NFTLA. Tell me a little bit about yourself and the work that you've been doing in training and education and getting people onto the highway, like an on-ramp, getting onto the highway of learning within this Web3 world.
Well, I think that that's a great analogy to use, the on-ramp onto the highway, because it does seem like Web3 is very fast and it's hard to get onto. But if you look at it like there is a ramp, there is an entry point, and that entry point really is education. Understanding the foundations of blockchain is something that anybody can do. It's a technology that anyone can jump into. It's new. And our training courses are really geared to preparing people to make that leap onto the highway.
And when they make the leap, it's not so scary because there's someone or a whole team, in your case, with the Blockchain Training Alliance that have been doing this for a long period of time. Tell us about your on-ramp. How did you get into this world?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been in training for over 20 years, all corporate training, and we were doing training on things that people might be very familiar with, like on Microsoft, on Cisco, on Oracle. And we actually started to notice in about 2017 that some organizations were looking at training around blockchain, which was a very new tech, very emerging space. And we decided that we would be the first folks to actually create a standardized global curriculum and certification that people around the globe could onboard onto blockchain with. So that's really where this journey began. And it's amazing to be here today and just see where it's gone. You know, when we began, there were no NFTs, there was no metaverse, there were no DAOs. So to see the journey that blockchain has taken as a whole and to be able to be a part of that and educate people has been incredibly rewarding.
So I want to jump into DAOs a little bit, which those that have been in the industry for a while are quite familiar. Those that are recently, over the pandemic, been jumping in, they've been starting to hear about this, and it's starting to materialize into these communities or these entities called DAOs. DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about where your organization is in terms of helping others to understand the steps to start a DAO? And maybe you can also jump in and talk just like in depth, like what is a DAO, how is it helpful, and give a real world example.
Okay, in terms of what is a DAO and how is it helpful in that real world example, I'm going to leave that to Kriss, who's going to be speaking here next. But in terms of helping people onboard into that, we actually just filmed an Intro to DAO class. It's about an hour and a half long. It's a class that just helps people do exactly what you're saying. Understand what DAOs are, how they developed, how they're community driven. So that's a brand new class that's out now that we would definitely encourage anyone who is looking to understand more about DAOs to take.
All right, let's get Kriss to jump in here, okay, and we'll start talking a little bit more in depth about DAOs. And then after Kriss, we're going to be able to get one more.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be Rosa. She manages all of our learning events, so she'll be talking as well. Okay,
and your position before you leave us.
I'm the CEO of Blockchain Training Alliance. As I mentioned, we founded BTA out of this just incredible need to build blockchain up in the space, and it's been a great journey. So with that, let me grab Kriss to talk about...
Kriss, come on in here.
Yes.
Kriss, thanks so much for giving us your time. You are an expert in the world of blockchain, and we're trying to help some newbies to the world to understand what is a DAO. Maybe you could share a little story.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Anything we can do to bring more people into the space. I'll tell you the dirty little secret, and I probably shouldn't say it too loud here. But in the world of technology, there's nothing we love more than inventing new terms. And a lot of times we come up with new terms for things that people already understand innately, and it can make the space seem very intimidating. And that's kind of the category that DAOs fall into, decentralized autonomous organizations. Boy, that's a mouthful, right? But what does that really mean at the end of the day? There's a couple focuses there. The autonomy part simply means that a lot of the low-level functions that human beings are fulfilling in an organization right now, well, we can offload those to smart contracts or other types of process automation technology. Nobody enjoys those boring, repetitive tasks. All of us have a great creative brain in our heads, and so that frees up human capital to be able to focus on some of those more interesting and frankly rewarding tasks. And the other part to, I think, really focus on a DAO is the decentralized aspect. Blockchains, DAOs, these are all part of Web3. And if you think about, you had a great idea in the pre-internet age, great business idea. Well, you can only reach out to the people directly in your network, the people that you know, and maybe the people that they know, the second or third order contacts. But then the internet comes along, Web 1, and it's great because you can discover new people, but it's really hard to talk back to them. It was just a one-way communication. Web 2, social media, changed all that. Now, not only can I go find you out on the other corner of the world, but you and I can talk back and forth and get to know each other. And now you don't have to be in my first, second, and third order contacts in order for us to build a dream together. And now Web 3 layers community on top of that and the technology that handles that automation part. We've had students come through our class who have had this really great idea for doing something on blockchain, but boy, they just couldn't find people that share that vision or that passion. By layering all these web technologies together, they've been able to find investors, developers, folks to work in sales and marketing, customer support, human resources, because there's a space for everybody in Web 3.
And in the beginning, you're talking a little bit like, are we reinventing the wheel? Is a DAO similar to an LLC or a C corporation? Is it similar to how we organize ourselves today, but in a new way where we're just going to leverage the distributed ledger, the blockchain technology, so robots can help us just a little bit more with some of the things that have to happen in organizing people? Am I talking your language? We're trying to help someone out there. They've got a business. How would you relate a DAO to today and what they see in today's world?
Yeah, I absolutely love that analogy because you just kind of proved the point I was making. We already understand this. When the tech guys like me come along and want to invent new words, well, just remember, technology's like fashion. And if you wait long enough, everything comes back in style again, even if we call it something different. We kind of saw the same evolution through the analog era. It seems like it's always been this way, but the idea of having shareholders, the idea that an organization or a collective human effort could have shared ownership, was kind of the analog version of what a DAO is. So we're just kind of taking that very old idea and breathing new life into it and giving it some clever new names. But again, everyone out there probably already is familiar with these ideas.
Wonderful. Thanks for your time, Kriss.
Anytime.
And now we're going to bring Rosa on.
All right,
Rosa. It's great to have you join. There's multiple languages that Blockchain Training Alliance is supporting. Tell me a little bit about that education effort to include all around the world.
So we do training worldwide, and we want to make sure that we're very inclusive. Our on-demand training is in English, but we have it subtitled in several different languages just to make sure that we include every single person who wants education, but is not necessarily strong in English. We have Espanol, Spanish, we have Arabic, and several other languages that are very helpful, especially written on the screen with the closed captioning that really help capture our audience.
And so what's been some of the feedback that you've been getting in how virtual or remote learning has transpired over the pandemic in terms of captioning and languages? I'm trying to get into can we learn a little bit about the roadmap or the future of languages and education? Any insights that you can tell us about what y'all are building, and also who out there should be getting involved and connecting with you all?
Well, I think everybody should get involved. There is education for every single level. There's education for everyone. Even if you think you're an expert, there's still something that you can learn. And we get that all the time. We get experts say, well, I took your class, but I still learned things that I didn't know I needed to learn. And we have beginners who take our introductory courses who say, wow, there is so much, and I understood all of it because you broke it down and you explained it in a way that I could make it relate to something in my life. Worldwide, it makes it easier because we have our on-demand classes where time is not an issue. They don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to take a class here, and we're based in the U.S., but they can play it on their own time. They have time in the evenings, they have time at night, they have time during the day. Some people work.
Some people work the graveyard shift, and they're going to have to do this on their way home at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes. So being on demand, I mean, we're in people's homes. They do it at their own time.
That's great.
And it's absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your time. And if you would share the website or where beginners can go to get some more information, where do they go?
Blockchain Training Alliance. We have all of our courses listed there. If anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to us.
Sounds great. Thanks, Rosa.
Thank you.